What's going on, everybody? It's FREEDO here for Your Overwatch. There was all sorts of tricks and treats in the patch yesterday, but also that dropped with it was the PTR buffs and nerfs to Ana, Widowmaker, and Junkrat. Just gonna have a quick look around the scenery in Hollywood here. The map looks so cool. I was so excited when the PTR change was in effect for Widowmaker. Not because I thought it was necessarily the perfect choice, but just the mere fact that Blizzard is willing to test things out and implement these changes progressively gives me some hope. But, as the title of the video suggests, I don't think we're there yet. Now, in this video, I will try to show you examples of engagements and the playstyle of Widowmaker and why I don't think it's as good. I've put a lot of thought into this and comparing the old meta from when Widow was great to now, even with the scope increase, and I have concluded that it isn't enough. Now, the severity of how good Widowmaker was at launch can't be understated. It was very good. She had better body shot. She had a better ultimate that the enemies couldn't hear, and a lot of the other characters in the game just weren't as viable, which I think is actually a pretty important thing to note. If we reverted most of the changes, I can't definitively say D.Va isn't good enough yet to fight with her. That was the case at the time, but Defense Matrix lasts a lot longer and is more dexterous now. But the biggest change that I definitely do agree with is the body shot damage, which essentially meant that in a lot of engagements, she could go for body shots and still be lethal, but now, when it takes a full charge to do 120 damage, it's a pretty inefficient way to fight. But I think we should keep that the way it is. Widow should be a high-risk character and not have a lot of value if she's hitting body shots, but have those bursts of value hitting headshots. That's what we want to see. We don't want her to be the main DPS, being able to carry the game entirely, but she should have that niche role and big bursts of impact into the match, but I don't think she actually can set herself up to do that enough as it stands in the meta right now. The good news is having an increased scope time does help with being able to acquire a target and have a lethal amount of damage in a reasonable time. Because before this change, she could barely even do that. It felt as if you had to be defensively holding an angle and have them walk into it rather than being able to peek into one. Now that's all fine and good, but the real thing that Widow had going for her at launch day was the animation cancel glitch, which I understand isn't something that's going to be re-implemented, but let me explain why that was way more powerful than any scope increase Blizzard would feasibly put on Widow. What the animation cancel did was, when you were in a pivot position, being able to change between targets, not only could you cancel some of the scope animation time, meaning that you could change targets quickly, for whatever reason, the level of charge that your scope had transferred into that next scope, making the old Widow not just more dexterous than you are now, but also more lethal than you are now, regardless of what the damage numbers are. That ability to transfer the investment of pivoting on an angle was massive. Now, I can understand the philosophy that Blizzard has that they don't want any aspect of a hero to be manipulated based on animation canceling to get the most out of him. I'd argue that a lot of times in esports and video games, a lot of the most core pro mechanics are based on that, but that's fine. It isn't unreasonable for them to have that opinion. There is just the fact that when you're in these battles, if you don't hit that first shot when you scope up, the only option you really have is to charge up again and hopefully hit the next one. Now, explaining that is a bit complicated, and we'll break down some examples about that. But first, do you hear that? It's coming. Who is it? It's John Cena! Yeah, that's right. Even if Widow had strong body shot damage, Winston would still be sick against her. Now that she has weakened body shot damage, she has no hope against a Winston diving her, unless she hits some absolutely ridiculous headshots, but since she'll need like 1.5 full scope charge times, she should be dead by then. It's almost impossible for a Widow to beat a Winston in a 1v1 unless she shoots him on his way to get her. Oh, and here's another little fun fact for you. In my quick play game, I got matched against Stoop, the pro main tank from Fnatic. This is the second pro player that I've been matched against, Blizzard. What are you trying to do to me? If you don't know, I got matched against Reaver from Cloud9, who's not on Cloud9 anymore, and he played McCree, and now I'm playing against Stoop, who granted his Reinhardt's better, but his Winston's good, and we can just see how he handles these engagements, how he completely takes me out of the battle. Because from a competitive standpoint, the Winston doesn't necessarily have to confirm the kill on me, but to tie up most of my attention is a benefit for the enemy team. The main DPS needs to be picking their supports and other DPS, not fighting a tank. The only option I really have is to try to stay with my team so that I bait Winston into diving me. We are able to focus him down, but hey, look at that! My team leaves me. Now, luckily, Mercy does pocket me, which is good because Mercy now can out DPS the Winston, but this just leaves me at a big stalemate, and luckily, my team is clearing out the point, meanwhile, while Winston is wrecking me, but I try to fly away. He can leap faster than me because my hook shot is on a cooldown of 12 seconds. Winston wins that fight hands down. And honestly, I think day by day, the community has to learn how great Winston is eventually. At launch day, everyone was picking Bastion and Hanzo and DPSs all over the place. Winston was never changed. He was good against Widow when she was overpowered, and is definitely good against whatever rendition of Widow we're going to have now. So even if we did have OP Widow right now, I think there would be slightly less complaints because more people would know that Winston is such an easy answer to her. But now let's move on to talking more specifically about how the scope animation and lack of dexterity affects her in battle. Now here I'm going to show some engagements versus Ana. Some I win, some I lose. And I probably want to do another video entirely dedicated to aiming at animations in this game because that's the key distinction that lost me this fight. In Overwatch, you want to learn the animations of the characters you're aiming at in order to hit the shots that you're looking for. It's not just about tracking them and putting your crosshair where you need it to be. It's knowing when to capitalize on their movement. Keeping in mind, the entire time I'm locked into this engagement, I can't move. If I change my positioning, I have to just fully retreat. I should have ran away, which was the better play, but I wanted to test how these engagements feel. In slow motion, my shots don't look as bad because you can see where I was intending to put the crosshair. I'm trying to find her head in between her jumps and strafes. She just happens to dodge them every time. I mean, that's so key, though, because as we watch the kill cam back from what she does to me, she's able to have all these different decisions and dodging techniques while quickscoping me, while being able to hip fire sometimes, heal herself. Widow can't do any of those things. She can pivot on a position and she has to hit that shot. It's that simple. Now, I don't think Ana is favored in the engagement versus Widow. I think Widow actually is favored because she should be able to play at a further range. It just so happens that, to be honest, if a character knows I'm trying to battle them, I almost don't want to fight that battle as Widow anymore, because I'm so predictable in the fight. I have to be able to turret up like a Bastion and shoot at range because I no longer can do any of the dexterous Widow play that I did from launch day. I can't change targets, I can't really jump around. You have to turret up and hit shots, which really isn't how Overwatch is played. So with that being said, I think the answer is leave the body shot damage. It's fine the way it is, but I think we have to keep progressing with her in terms of dexterity. Ana's actually really interesting because she shoots every 1.2 seconds and Widow can shoot pretty much whenever she wants, but there's the fact that she has to scope in, charge up in order to get that damage out. I have showed this before, but once again, Ana can actually scope in faster than she can shoot. But the main benefit she has is that she can chuck and jive in between each shot. Widow used to be able to do that a bit with her animation canceling, but no more, forcing her to play stiff. Honestly, if they just toned down the animation of the scope in time back to whatever it was in the animation cancel days, making that the default, we might be in a better place. That might give her the ability to scope in insanely quick, even faster than Ana potentially, but if we're not changing anything else about her kit, I think it's warranted. Her ult doesn't really have any value anymore, and Hanzo's recon arrow is better than Widow's ultimate because they don't see it coming. Widow announces it to the entire map, and really it's hard to get any use out of it now, which is fine. I think it's kind of cheese. I'd rather her mechanics be what drives her, not her ultimate. Or, of course, we can change the hook shot time, but that's not actually what I want anymore, because that would just make her able to run away more often, still forcing her to play in this really stiff aiming style, which I don't think is fun for the game, because just about every other character in the game with ranged abilities has the ability to strafe and juke mid-combat. Even with the faster, more dexterous scope, Widow wouldn't have the same capabilities. It would just allow her a little bit of dexterity in aim duels and not force her to have to scope up the entire time. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I know this is a really controversial issue, and I'm really not trying to just put Widow on top of the world again. I want her to be fair, but I want her to be viable too, and I think right now, she's still too niche to be viable. The quickscope animation increase helps one part of her game, but her weakest part is still unchanged. Her dexterity in in between fights. If there was better maps for Widow, maybe we could even leave it this way, but that's an entirely separate conversation in a video I want to make as well. Most of the engagements are medium range, so we only can work with what we have. If you liked the video, please hit like on the video. It really does help us out. Subscribe for more content. We upload each and every day, and when our videos go live, our streams go live. So head on over to Twitch to check it out. We have a Discord server. There's usually over 1,000 people in there hanging out, grouping up, chatting about the game. That's linked in the description as well. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.